It's your boy Jimmy Blue, Mr. All Access Elite Boxing, reporting live from Dallas, Texas. I want to thank each and every one of our listeners today. Make sure to follow us on All Access Elite Boxing on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting those notifications and leave us a comment. Also follow us on All Access Elite Boxing on Facebook, All Access Elite Boxing on Instagram. And if you're on Twitter, make sure to follow us. Tweet us at All Access Elite. All right, fans, let's talk some boxing. In recent boxing news, boxing scene has just reported that the Terence Crawford Egis Kavaliauskus bout that happened over the weekend on ESPN peaked at 1.648 million viewers, which it was literally right after the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Now, I know that apparently last year around this time, when Lomachenko fought Pedraza, it did a little bit over 2 million views. You got to also take into account that boxing was also going against the UFC. The UFC had a fight card, a huge fight card on ESPN Plus. So, not to take away from any of the viewership, because 1.648 million is a lot of views. It definitely was a great night of boxing, especially for Teofimo Lopez and Terence Bud Crawford. One of the questions that I ask is, will this translate into him becoming a bona fide star? I know that there's been a lot of critics have been chirping on the boxing forums, and speaking in regards to why isn't Terence Crawford being heavily promoted by Top Rank? Why hasn't he got the same exposure that a Tyson Fury or a Lomachenko has received from Top Rank? Now, again, that's not to take any credit away from Bud Crawford. He's a hell of a fighter. It's just there's something that's missing with him. It could be his personality. It could be that, he said it himself. He doesn't feel as if he has to change anything about him. That he's not going to be quote unquote kissing anyone's ass or changing who he is. He's a fighter. He does his talking in the ring, and I respect that. But even with the huge win against Kavaliauskus, he had an opportunity to, call out all these PBC fighters, call out any specific names on the ESPN platform, and for whatever reason, he chose not to do it. And I don't blame him, man. I know that, especially with the PBC side, a lot of times, they don't even recognize him as the WBO champion. They never mention his name. Or at least not on live television, they don't. And you can tell it kind of bothers them a little bit. The fact of the matter is that Terence Crawford has absolutely no one to fight at the 147-pound limit in regards to keeping it in-house with Top Rank. Now, I know there's been rumblings and there's been mentioning that if Jose Ramirez, once he passes Victor Postal and once he has a unification fight with Josh Taylor, and if he's successful, he's looking to potentially moving up to 147 to have a huge fight, possibly a pay-per-view fight with Terence Crawford. Now, I know there was a lot of rumors going around that Terence Crawford only has 2 fights now remaining with Top Rank, but Bob Arum recently came out and said that he's signed for the life of his boxing career with Top Rank. So you don't know really what to believe as far as what's next for Terence Crawford. He did look vulnerable in this fight. He was fighting a 2-time Olympian from Lithuania. I told anybody that would listen, Egis Kavaliauskus is a good fighter. He's a really good fighter. He's a notch above a Jeff Horn. I knew he was going to come in tough. I knew he was going to come in strong. I know when he first turned pro, he was actually trained by Robert Garcia at the RGBA in in Oxnard, California. So, anytime that you hear the name Robert Garcia, or that he was formerly trained by, he's a former Robert Garcia fighter, that these guys had to have some sort of a talent. They called him the Mean Machine. They didn't call him the Mean Machine for anything. But, one thing I respect about Bud Crawford, man, is he is an excellent switch hitter. The guy has a mean streak about him. and he knows how to make adjustments in the ring. Now, I don't necessarily agree with all his adjustments that he makes, because there's at times, when you want him to switch orthodox, or even when you want him to switch southpaw, he doesn't do it. And I know when they interviewed Bomac throughout the fight, they asked him, hey, at what point do you have him switch orthodox if he's getting tagged when he's in the southpaw position? And he says, hey, you know what? As a fighter, we let him determine that. We let him get a feel for that. And whenever he's ready to turn it up, we let him loose. And that's exactly what they did this fight. He got caught, he got dropped. They didn't call it a knockdown, but it's boxing, man. You're going to get hit. I don't necessarily know if Bud Crawford has the ability, or rather the power, to stand toe-to-toe with a lot of these other elite 147 pounders. The Danny Garcias, the Keith Thurmans, Manny Pacquiao's, Errol Spence, Shawn Porter, Ugas, Sergey Lipinets, just to throw a few names out there. Even Virgil Ortiz. This is another young and up-and-coming contender. But again, we're going to see, man. We're going to see where it takes him. The good thing is that with the WBO, this was his mandatory fight against Kavaliauskus, and he will not have to fight another mandatory. The WBO is giving him until December of 2020. So that gives them, when I say them, I mean Top Rank, plenty of time to schedule at least, or try and squeeze in 2 more fights before December 2020. And hopefully, from what we're hearing, it may be a potential showdown with Shawn Porter. But again, it's your boy Jimmy Blue. Tell us what you think, guys. 1.6 million viewers. Is it one of the best viewerships of the year? Possibly so. Is it going to turn Terence Crawford into another star, or a bigger star than what he is? Did the UFC affect the viewership of this past Saturday? You let us know. Type in the comments below. It's your boy Jimmy Blue, Mr. All Access Elite Boxing, signing off.